All right, I think this starts a new channel. I am going to make note of it over here. All right, I see my voice is supposed to be on there, so give me some comments. All right, so um, who has been hearing about this Roe v. Wade thing? It isn't even based on Roe v. Wade. What's going on is that there was um, I think it's Missouri and Texas. There were a couple different bills that were limiting abortion quite a bit more than what Roe v. Wade allows for, which is why it was being thrown up to the Supreme Court, and so it has the net effect of overturning Roe v. Wade because the Supreme Court had the decision when they agreed to hear these cases that they would either strike down these states' cases that limited abortion to 15 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever the bill particularly was, um, or they could narrowly allow for that particular state's bill to go through without affecting the larger concept of Roe v. Wade, or they could say, you know what, Roe v. Wade is just a bad bill. And according to this leaked report, that is the option that they are going for. All right, Charity, great. I'm glad you can hear me. And Christian Juan, thank you for commenting as well. I appreciate it. So anyhow, I found out about this leak on my way to go see Dinesh D'Souza's movie, 2000 Mules. And oh, the other good thing that I wanted to point out was that I found out about it from my daughter, and so as a mom of a daughter who is graduating college in just a few days, I'm going to be leaving tomorrow, and her graduation is on Saturday. Um, I feel like my husband and I did something right. That she knew that I would be excited about the news that Roe v. Wade is going to be hopefully struck down, and B, that she also was excited about uh, the potential that this is going to be struck down. So um, that's, as a parent, that you can't ask for anything better than that, than to raise them so that they accept the beliefs that you believe are good, and help get them to heaven, and that they've accepted those beliefs as their own. So um, thank you, Lord, for watching over my daughter these last 4 years, and helping her to to remain close to you. And she's also married a very godly man as well. So that is just wonderful news that she is agreeing with me on that, and that we're both on the side of God, hopefully on that. But the other thing is that, so we went into the Dinesh D'Souza movie, and I'm just still so excited about the fact that this was leaked, and I know that is the purpose of why it was leaked is because obviously the left wants to put public pressure on the justices to keep them from sticking with that vote to strike it down. So they're really hoping for chaos, and so we got to pray for the justices to stand firm and for the public to to accept this and not to start lighting cities and towns on fire. Um, but the other thing is that, so I went into the theater, and we got there half an hour early, and this place was already had more people in it. It was probably about a third full when we got there, about a half an hour before it started. Um, and I was just so excited that I was like, the movie wasn't on or anything, but I just kind of addressed the crowd. I'm like, "Hey, did you hear about Roe v. Wade?" And then a couple of people said, "No, no, what happened?" And so I told them, and that was the crowd though that would accept it. I didn't have anybody saying, "Oh, that's terrible." No, I had people saying, "Oh, thank God," and thanks for sharing that, and hope that that's true, and so that was really encouraging. Again, this is I'm in California, and that we had at 6:30, half hour before the movie starts, a third of it was full. I've gone to a couple other movies here, and at the time that it starts, the theater isn't a third full. By the time it actually started at 7, I would say it was probably about 85-90% full. And there were I was checking out because I didn't buy my in-laws tickets until right beforehand because I forgot that they were out of town for the weekend, and I wasn't sure if they were going to be back for the showing. So when I went to go buy their tickets, there were a number of theaters that were sold out for that 7 o'clock showing on Monday, and that's in California, sold out. See, try. I'm just totally losing the names of all these towns, but it had to have been about 6 or 7 theaters that were sold out. So if you haven't seen 2000 Mules, it's a Fathom event, so it's not advertised in the theater. You have to buy the tickets online, and it will be showing again on Wednesday at 7 o'clock local time, wherever that happens to be. They will also be putting out a DVD, so if you don't want to go out to the theater and you want to be able to watch it, it will be coming out in DVD. Um, but my takeaways from the showing was that we've got a long way to go. The mules refer to, like just says that like cartels will use drug mules. It's a term for the person. The mule is a person that is basically acting like a beast of burden for somebody else that's paying them. So, like with the drug mule, the cartels will give people the drugs and they will cross over international lines to distribute distribute the drugs. So, uh, with this 2000 Mules, we're talking about the events that happened in the late fall of 2020. And because of the platform that I'm on right now, I'm not going to go into any more specifics on that here, but know that, there were some quote unquote conspiracy theories about other methods of what may have affected the events of fall of 2020. And I think they didn't gain much traction because when you're talking about machine code and programming, it's something that's really hard for most people to understand and grasp and see what's going on. But with what Dinesh D'Souza was showing, he was partnering with an organization called True the Vote, and they had purchased terabytes, petabytes, which I guess is the next step up. So you got kilo, mega, giga, tetra, and then petra. So they had petabytes of data that people had cell phones, and so your cell phone is pinging off of different cell towers. And so you can identify an individual cell phone and follow that cell phone as they are going all around. Is that better, John? I just saw your text. As they're going all the way around their day. And in order to identify someone as being a quote unquote mule, they wanted to see that this cell phone owner would go to different drop boxes. They had to go to at least 10 different drop boxes, but not just 10 different drop boxes, but they also had to go to at least 5 different organizations that are these nonprofit organizations that their theory was that they were picking up these pieces of paper at one of these 5 different organizations. They had to be at 5 of them. And then they would go to one of these drop-off locations that kind of look like post office boxes but aren't, and drop them off. And that was the whole mule thing. And based on that number, having that high bar of they had to go to at least 10 different of these boxes, and they had to go to 5 different organizations that in theory they were picking up these papers, they counted 2,000 mules, and that was in these contested locations. So Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. And they didn't look anywhere else. They were just looking at a particular city. It wasn't even the whole state. It was a particular city and a particular radius, and they found 2,000. Now, if they wanted to be a little less strict and they reduced that number to, say, only 5 drop boxes, then that number exploded to over 200,000, I believe, if I remember correctly. But it wasn't just cell phone data, because again, that's kind of ethereal, and you're like, oh well, that's just a computer simulation of this data, and so it's a little hard for some people to kind of realize what you're seeing. But they also had video camera of people delivering these papers, and some of them were wearing gloves. And they said they started seeing these gloves the day after a sentence was handed down on a previous people picking process. And how they had determined that that person was guilty was because there were fingerprints on these particular papers. And so the day after that court case was handed down, I think it was in Arizona, then all of a sudden you started seeing people wearing gloves. And so why would you wear gloves unless you think you're trying to hide something? And it was very deliberate that they came up to that drop off location, put the special papers in there, and then they took off the gloves and threw it in a trash can that they previously hadn't even glanced at. They were looking the other direction as they were walking towards the drop off location. So it was very obvious that this person had been there at least one other time before. So I think the visuals of that is a lot more striking than some of these other thoughts on what happened in the fall of 2020, because you can see the camera, you can see these traces of where these people were going. And another thing that they found out was they could compare the data of where they were during this particular time frame, and they compared it with these same phones. Now you don't know who owned the phone or whatever, but you could compare it with the riots, and there was an overlap in one particular city that had 243 of these identified mules, that 67 of those 243 had also been participants in these mostly peaceful riots of the previous summer. So that kind of lends credence to perhaps these were not people that were number 45 supporters. So I don't know what is going to happen with this, but I do think it's an important film, because if we don't address it, if the law enforcement agencies do not address it, then we'll never have a better chance to prosecute these folks. At least ask the questions, at least bring them in, at least start doing investigations, more so than what a nonprofit can do by just purchasing some cell phone pinging data. Because just like the people, these mules, changed their behavior when they found out that fingerprints can be detected on these special papers, and they started wearing gloves. Now that they know that the information is out there, that they can get ping cell phone data, they're not going to be carrying cell phones. At least they're not going to be carrying anything that can be associated with them. They'll swap out, track phones and things like that. So this is the best opportunity. We'll never have this opportunity again to catch them and to investigate this. So please put pressure on your elected officials and share this information with them, and hopefully we'll have some positive effect on that. Also, True the Vote, which he was talking about why True the Vote even started back in, I think, 2010. And it's because they didn't have enough poll watchers and poll workers for the process to work. If you don't have enough volunteers, then Soros is going to find them some volunteers. It's also why they had to, it was very easy to force this mail-in idea, because so many people were afraid to go in and be among other people. And you wouldn't have had enough people volunteering to have managed people coming in person in any case. I just can't imagine. We were short when we did the recall, and that was September of 2021. So that's like a whole, almost another year, 10 months after, and we've already got we've got the jabs and things, and supposedly people should have felt more comfortable in September, and we were still short-handed even with the amount of mail-in, that we didn't have the influx of people actually coming in um, to the different precincts. So um, we need to make sure that we are participating in this process, or we really don't have too much room to complain that it's not working. You need to be part of the solution. So, depending on when your state's primaries are being held, there may still be time for you to volunteer to be a part of that process. For California, I needed to contact them. I believe the deadline was April 19th. April 19th. So anyhow, I did make sure that I am hopefully going to be chosen for that again. And that's for the primary. But even if it's too late for your particular state to be involved in the primary, look into becoming a poll worker in time for the general election. The more people, the more eyes that are there, then the less possibility of shenanigans happening. So be a part of that solution. Anyhow, I've got so much that I've got to get done still here, so I've got to go. But I was just so pleased with the turnout for Dinesh D'Souza's 2,000 Mules Fathom event. That was yesterday at 7 o'clock. There is another chance to catch it on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So please put your money in on that. No doubt, at least I hope that Dinesh is giving a good amount of the proceeds to this to the True the Vote organization, because they were it was obviously their data that they were using to put that movie together. Without True the Vote, Dinesh D'Souza wouldn't have had a movie at all. So I totally firmly believe in putting your money where your values are. So don't go to Starbucks. Don't go to these woke corporations. Go and support and cancel your Netflix. See a movie like this that Dinesh D'Souza is putting out. And anyhow, God bless. Keep praying. We really need to keep praying for everything, that God will soften hearts, and that the truth will come out. Anyhow, God bless. I will talk to you next time. And I need to figure out how to stop it.